Football podcast of all time. This is the Group of Five guys. Our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need everybody's help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a 5-star rating. Leave a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. Or you can go to groupof5guys.com, hit the shop link, and get you some Group of Five Guys merch. On this episode of Inside Drill, we go back to the alma mater, QB1, incumbent quarterback at Middle Tennessee, Nick Vattiato, joins us. Hope you enjoy the show. We want to welcome in. We've had a bunch of coaches on here, a bunch of administrators, athletic directors come on. First player we've had on in quite a while, and because Jeff Murphy is a quarterback guy, we had to start at the quarterback position, and we had to start at our alma mater, Middle Tennessee State, incumbent QB Nick Vattiato. Nick, what's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Fantastic. Right. I got to open this thing up with one question. You got the Kobe jersey in the background. Kobe number 8. Is that your favorite athlete of all time or what?
There's actually no special story. My dad got it for me as a gift. But like in terms of I do love Kobe, everything he did. I'm not a huge basketball guy though. I think when it comes to this time of year, I do like rather watch hockey playoffs than basketball. But I mean, Kobe number 8, it's kind of iconic, so it kind of works.
100%. So we were talking before the show. You're a Broward County guy, just like myself. Are you dialed in on the Florida Panthers? Sunrise, Florida. Listen, Jeff.
I didn't even think about this.
When the parade goes through the Rainforest Cafe at the Sawgrass Mall, you guys are not going to know what hit you. Sunrise is so far away from Miami or where anybody thinks like the Panthers are playing. It's like
it's in Everglades.
It's right on the edge of the swamp at an outlet mall is where the arena is. And they've been cracking. But Nick, you've been dialed into the Panthers or what?
I have. I mean, you're gonna hate me, but I am a Rangers fan. My dad's from Long Island.
Should have known.
See, he's gonna end it now. We're done.
We're done. The interview's over with. Yeah, I knew. I was skeptical with the Lakers, but I was like, it's Kobe. We'll give him a pass. But,
that makes sense though. I mean, you're Italian, right? That last name, you gotta be Paisan.
I am. Yeah,
but I mean, he's loyal. He's staying loyal to the family roots. I get it.
That's fair, and that's listen. On a complete side note, as we can get into, like that right there is the reason why the South Florida teams have a hard time because very few people are like from there. You know what I mean? True. Family from there, and most of the people that live there, just one generation ago, is New York. It's Chicago. It's up north somewhere in the Northeast. So that's why some of your Florida teams have a hard time with fan base, in case you're wondering.
That's very true. And the Marlins always have a bad time because no one goes to their games.
Two championships though for the Marlins.
Yeah,
but anyway, so let's talk about that. Talk about your background a little bit. How you ended up at Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, like obviously, like you said, growing up Broward County, got to experience like a lot of like just being around a lot of good coaches and a lot of great athletes at such a young age. I think it really benefited everything I've done in terms of like my football career. And it's definitely something that like I'll always cherish. And, I think when you're in it, like you don't realize like how special it is. I really do believe like the people down there care so much. And you just get such a good product of football on the field at all levels, whether it's youth or high school. But yeah, like my journey to Middle Tennessee was probably a little different than like guys that came before me or guys that are now coming after me, just because like it was like in that COVID time. So like no unofficial visits, no official visits. I didn't meet any of the coaches until like I moved in like the summer or like until I moved into my dorm freshman year. But just a lot of phone calls, a lot of FaceTimes. But I really do think like it kind of helped me bond with the coaches to a certain extent because all you can do is talk. And like at some point you run out of things to talk about. But then like, that's when you kind of really get to know someone. And, I think when I was getting recruited, Coach Diabate was the linebackers coach at the time. And he started recruiting me. And then obviously I got in touch with Coach Stock after that. And like we just created like a bond. And I think like how honest and genuine he came off was really like what drew me to MTSU. And I have no regrets about that decision whatsoever.
Yeah, well, we're stock guys and we love him to death. The guy sent me a Happy Father's Day text on Sunday, so that guy will forever be at the top shelf of my list of favorite people in my life. But you're one of the ones that stayed with after the transition with Coach Mason. Would love to know just kind of what your mindset was at the time when Stock got let go, and then making that decision to stay with the new regime.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough because I mean, like Stock is someone I look up to. Like he's done so much for me, and he's such a good man. Like not even when it comes to football, like just in general, like he's taught me so much I think about life. And obviously, it was tough when he got let go, and obviously, like for a month or so, like the rest of the staff was up in the air, but you kind of had a feeling. Um, but I think it was just a lot. When it happened, like I wasn't gonna jump the gun or anything and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna get in the portal." Like I didn't want to make any decisions just based off of like emotion or anything like that. So like just talking with my parents, and even like talking with Brent Stockstill a little bit, like because I look up to him and he's offered me so much of advice throughout my time knowing him. It was just kind of figuring out like what was going to be best for me, and kind of seeing who MTSU brought in as the new head coach. Found out it was Coach Mason. I think literally the day that it was announced that he got hired, like he called a team meeting, like he wanted to meet us, wanted to talk to us. And I think just from the jump, like he came off super genuine, like a good guy, and definitely had a purpose of being there. And like you can tell. And like so that to me was important. And it felt like staying was something that was going to be good and that, we were going to be able to do some successful things. So I think that's kind of why I stayed. And especially with college football now, like the portal is crazy, and with NIL, you know, like there's a lot of work to be done here, and nothing's ever for certain. But I felt, just getting to talk with Coach Mason more and more that staying was really the best option for me, and I still believe that to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys are in summer workouts now. You got through spring. You know, definitely from the outside looking in, and anytime you get a new staff and kind of a new team, there's energy in the air, right? But definitely from the outside looking in, it seems like there's some energy. There's a ton of buy-in from you guys as players. What's the vibe of the roster? Whether it be the guys like you that have been there a little bit, and then there's a ton of new guys. So what's the vibe of the team right now?
I mean, the vibes are great. Vibes are high. I think everyone's super excited. It's so weird. I think we brought in 42, I believe, 42, 43 new guys. And like that's almost half of a roster. And so like you get that much turnover. It's weird. Like we're still at the point where everyone's still trying to get to know each other, whether it's freshmen or transfer guys who just came in. Like, we have the guys who stayed, who have been here. Like we're all still so close. And then like just new guys who came in the spring, like getting to know them, like you start to get closer with them. And now the guys who just got here in the summer. But I will say like everyone's bought into like what Coach Mason is trying to do, and everyone has had really good outlook and perspective on it. And I think it's really helped us kind of come together. We had a good spring, and that's just like the first step in the getting ready for the season. We started summer, going on week 3 of summer workouts now, and it's been great. Guys are working, getting to know each other, and just kind of figuring it out, and seeing the team that we kind of have is coming together a little bit, day by day. So I'm excited. I think everyone else is excited, and obviously, like when week 1 rolls around, it's going to look different, but we're going out there with a purpose, and that purpose is going to be to win. And obviously, I think Coach Mason's done a great job, just kind of getting us to all be on the same page about that.
Nick, have you noticed? One of the things we harp on all the time is the support or lack thereof from the community of Murfreesboro. And you don't have to say you don't have to say anything. But have you noticed an increase in that? I mean, have you noticed the buzz just around the city of what hopefully should turn into a lot more support for you guys this fall? Have you noticed anything?
Yeah, I mean, definitely having a spring game, I thought it was nice to see like people come out and support. We hadn't had a spring game in previous years, at least at my time being at MTSU. So I think it was nice to see, fans come out and show their support for us. And I think that in terms of a buzz, like I think when anything's new, like people are kind of like, their interest is sparked a little bit more. So I definitely think that there's going to be some excitement when week one at home versus Tennessee Tech rolls around. I think, probably see a lot more fans in the stands than maybe we have in the past couple seasons. But yeah, I think excitement is in the air, and I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see like what it's going to look like.
We talk about it a lot. How much that home crowd really plays a role. It affects the game, and we harp on it all the time. But from a player's perspective, that's in it right now. Like, tell the fans your pitch. How much does that really affect when you go? When you guys go on the road, and then being at home. If we can create, at Middle Tennessee, having that home field advantage, how much does that affect the game?
I mean, it's there's like levels to it. When you have that home crowd effect, I mean, it just make a world's difference. When defense is on the field and it's third down and the whole stadium's rocking, like you do really feed off that energy. And when you're on offense, you get a big first down, a crowd erupts. You kind of start to feel that mojo going. You guys get in a flow a little bit. Um, where just as simple as like scoring touchdowns and like seeing people in the stands like celebrate, like that definitely goes into it because like you said, like you play away games and you kind of experience other teams' home stadiums. Like Liberty is electric, like that crowd they show out for their team and rightfully so. Like that's a one heck of a team. Um, but even I remember going on the road to New Mexico State last season, not knowing a lot about New Mexico State or where it was at in New Mexico, but I mean, like even like to their credit, like their students showed out. They stayed the whole game. They were rowdy. They were right behind our bench, and like they didn't stop. And I think it definitely plays a factor. And so I think like the more people who come to our games and want to support, like it definitely helps us, and we definitely notice. So that's my take on it.
Love it. After we're done, me and Jeff will rant a little bit on crowd support. But hey, back to football a little bit. So we this is another thing we've been talking about for several years. The most important hire a new head coach can make is the strength coach.
Mm-hmm.
They're the guy that sets the tone for what the new culture is going to be of the team. So you guys have been in the summer workouts a little bit. You went through spring with Coach Platnick. We've gotten to talk to him a little bit. He's got a little different, philosophy. But how are the guys, with that program? The only thing we're seeing right now is 60-inch box jumps every night. What else are you guys? What's that program like? How much energy is in that weight room right now?
Yeah, I mean a ton of energy. Like he brings it every day. I love Coach Blatnick. I think he came in with the mindset of we're here to work, we're here to get better, and like it's not very like he's not a very like up in your face like high energy kind of strength coach jumping around the weight room. Like I think we walk in there, we know what we're in there to do, we know what we're in there to work. He expects a lot out of us, but I mean like for good reason. Like we're in there to get better. And a lot of what he does is centered around kind of like football and like how in like the course of a game. So when it comes to like when we're squatting like on our dynamic speed days, like it's like 8 sets of 3, but instead of like calling 8 sets of 3, like he's like, hey guys, like we got 3 plays in this drive and we're gonna go for 8 drives. And so like a lot of the rest has to do with like a play clock. So like 40 seconds rest because there's 40 seconds on the play clock. A lot of stuff like that, just kind of training your mind to like, you're not just training, like you're training to play football on the field. Whether you're in the weight room, whether you're conditioning, like it all has its own purpose. And I think the way he goes about it, and the way he kind of helps us, the way he coaches us and then the way he helps us lead each other has been a big part of it. And I have nothing but love for him. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job, and I know a lot of the guys like him, and we definitely get after it. We've been getting after it since the day he got here.
Well, dude's an absolute unit. When we saw the picture of when he got hired, it's like this guy's only job has to be strength and conditioning. I mean, he's a physical specimen.
It was like, of course, we were emotional. We were upset, of course, for Coach Stock, and then they brought in Coach Mason, and we were like, hey, okay. And then when they announced the strength coach, we were like, oh yeah, I'm in. I am bought in on this guy for sure. Just looking at the dude. So.
I mean, I've seen him almost every day since we started winter workouts in January, and like you don't get used to how big he is. Like he looks bigger every time you see him. It's It's
He looks like
silly.
he could be a professional wrestler or something, dude.
Yeah.
He's like yoked.
100%.
And like you're talking about 60-inch box jumps, like he'll do a 60-inch box jump, like not
Yes,
even warming up.
I
And
saw him
it's just
post
like,
that video. I was like,
it's silly. It's like, how does he do that?
years of
Well, yeah,
training.
you probably got some D linemen on that roster right now that you don't think it, but give them a year or two under that program and they'll be doing it. And now
Yeah.
we just got to find guys that are that big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something we hadn't had in a long time.
Yeah, him and DeMonte, they'll because DeMonte he's been here, plays D line, good player, and like he'll push him in the weight room, and DeMonte like responds like in a good way, positive way. He's in there lifting the entire gym, and like they
Yeah.
feed off of each other like a good energy, and it's been great though.
That's awesome. Well, moving back with the new staff, Bodie Reeder, got a chance to talk to him a couple of times. He seems like a sharp dude. What's the offense going to look like? You know, I'm assuming it's going to be a little different than years past. So, what do how have you liked it so far, and what can we expect?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different from years past. Just different offensive philosophy. A little more pro style. I think you're going to see a little more variation in the run game. Definitely a little more variation in the pass game when it comes to more play action, more nakeds, and more bootlegs. You'll probably see us go under center more. Not a ton, not to where it's like, wow, they really changed, but enough when there's important scenarios in the game where I think being under center can be useful. And setting a lot of different things up off of our run game is going to be important. And we have a lot of dynamic players. I think there's no issue spreading the ball. I think that was something that in the spring it was pretty noticeable. Like the ball gets spread around the field a lot. A lot of different guys touch the ball, and I think it's good for us because we have a lot of different playmakers. But yeah, Coach Reeder's been awesome. He came in with he just has this great positive energy. Like all he wants to do is talk football. All he wants to do is coach and teach us, making sure we understand everything. And it's been great. Spring was awesome. Spring was like a little slow because like it was all brand new, and the start of summer, like our player practices have been nice because like we're moving at such like a faster pace now because we're not learning it for the first time. It's more of like a refresher, like a relearn. So guys are moving at 100%, and it's been real good. It's been good.
Nick, not to bring up last year, but I'm sitting here looking at the schedule from last year, and I'm looking at Missouri, Colorado State, potentially Jacksonville State, Liberty, New Mexico, and Sam Houston are all one possession games that are probably wins if you're able to finish with the run game, and protect you a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
We know it starts up front. We know no team is going to be successful without offensive line, defensive line. So how's that O-line looking right now after spring? And then, what are the expectations go to where, those 5 losses are wins and we're looking at an 8-9, maybe 10-win ball team with 10, 11 plays throughout the season is really the way football goes, as you know. But what's that O-line looking like right now?
I mean, they're good. They're good. I think as a unit, they had a great spring, like top to bottom, first group, second group, third group, whatever it was. They had a really good spring. They bought in. Like it's a lot of not a lot, but a lot of things are new to them as well. Whether it's new run schemes, whether it's different calls, like a lot of the things you learn in football is like everyone kind of does run the same concepts or the same run schemes, but it's all terminology. So I think all the guys getting on the same page. Communication with each other, communication with the tight ends when tight ends are in the court blocking, whether it's the run game or the pass game. That just takes getting used to, but I thought they did a really good job in the spring. I thought our run game looked really good in the spring, and I think guys just kind of bought into what we were doing. And like that's just one of the biggest things you can do when you have so much turnover with the coaches and with players is like if you buy into what we're going to do, you can be successful and you're going to keep working at it. But O-line, has done a great job. Like guys like Jashawn Bodiford have kind of been good leaders, and Julius Pierce and young guys like Mateo, who, like I said, started to play towards the tail end of last season have kind of just he's kept getting better and kept improving and kind of brought other guys up with them. And, I'm excited. I'm excited to see those guys play. Like they're hungry and like, whether it's fair or not, like they hear people talk about him, and it's I have all the trust in the world that those guys are going to go out there and do their job, every single week. So always proud of them and excited to see them get to play this year.
What about on the skill side of things? Anybody new or anybody that's been there that, after spring you're thinking, okay, this is a little connection that I might have that I didn't have last year that could be something special?
Yeah, when it comes, like, obviously Holden was a freaking baller last year, and that's just what he is, and he continued to do that in the spring. I think both the two new receivers we got who were here in the spring, Amari Kelly and Gamarion, they were just like just two absolute studs when it comes to playing receiver. And I think I'm really excited. Like, I was really excited in the spring when we were able to connect on passes down the field and watching them just have the ball in their hands and make plays. I'm really excited to continue to work with those guys. And obviously they're new. So, like, week one, we go out there and we're playing, like, fans will get to see that. And that, like, it's just something, like, they weren't here last year, so it'll be new for them. But, super excited for what they bring to the table. And we have two guys who just got here in the summer, receivers as well. Hayes is a kid from Duke, and then Miles Butler. And they're just, I think, just kind of bring in some, like, more experience to the group as a whole, like helping out guys who have been here, like Javonte Sherman and Kellen Stewart and Cam Lacey. But, I think it's just like they do all of our skill players, like, help each other so well, and they feed off of each other, and they're always, like, making sure everyone's getting better. And so I think whether it's the receivers, the tight ends, or the running backs, like, we have a really good group of guys who all can make plays with the ball in their hands. And I think that's, like, really special.
Love it. Well, I mean, we're only a couple months out from the start of the season. So, per usual at middle, the beginning of the schedule is going to be a gauntlet. But what's a realistic expectation for you guys? What's the goal? Being it's a new regime, but you've been there. So what's your expectation going into this season?
I mean, it's like, I don't want to sound like cliche, but, like, we really, like, the mindset has to be like, we got to go in every game and we have to just dominate. And, like, whatever that looks like, we have to do it. It doesn't matter if it's week 1 versus Tennessee Tech or week 2 at Ole Miss. Like, you have to have the same exact mindset going into both of those games. It really doesn't matter. And then, you're week 2 at Ole Miss, and then you turn around, you're home for your first conference game versus Western. And then I'm pretty sure it's Duke and Memphis. So, like, you don't get a break. And, like,
I mean, what do we do? I mean, come on, guy. Can we give our
Jeff? We're gonna let him go before we talk
know.
about this.
But, like, you don't. You don't have any time to not be on your game 100%.
100%.
And it doesn't matter. And, like, it can be whoever, whether it's conference games, non-conference games. You got to take them serious. You have to. Doesn't matter who it is. You got to go in with the expectation to dominate and execute your game plan, and that's just how it has to be. And I do think, like, Coach Mason does, do a good job of making our guys understand, like, the standard is the standard. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't change for anyone, and, like, we have to stay true to that.
Nick, I only got one more thing for you, and then we'll let you go unless Jeff has something. I have, you guys, the MT Football Instagram put out a video the other day about favorite restaurants in Murfreesboro, and not one single. So how many guys are on the roster? 100 and something guys on the roster, and not one single soul said Domenico's Italian Deli on that reel. And I'm trying to figure out why.
That's a fair point, because I have been there and it is very good. I know.
Nick's a regular. I know.
I thought for sure, because you were, like, in the background of a lot of other guys' thing, and I thought for sure, like, he was going to come in and just save it at the end, like, all those places are fine, but Domenico's. And then what'd you say? The Boulevard is tight.
Yeah, Boulevard's top
you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, and love the people at the Boulevard. So, but I have to do a better. I got to do a better job of getting some guys over to the deli.
Way to put them on the spot, Sprouse.
Look, I'm not. There's certain things that I won't stand for, Jeff, and that's one of them.
I respect it. I got to do a better job getting some guys over there.
We didn't have that option, Nick. It was the Boulevard. Was it Jefferson's? I feel like was brand new when we were leaving. I mean,
Toots has always been there.
our routine was this, and I don't know what the kids are doing after hours anymore, Jeff, but I feel like it was like Monday was like dollar tacos at Camino, I believe. Tuesday was Jim's. Wednesday, there's a little hole in the wall called Riverstone. Remember that place,
Yeah,
Jeff?
I sure do.
I've never
Riverstone
even
was a
heard of
good
that
spot.
place.
It ain't that's because it's not there anymore. One too many. Not anybody on this call, but one too many driving under the influences out of that facility. Thursday was probably Boulevard after practice, and then Whiskey Dick's late night.
Yeah.
was
Before, see, they're on the square now. It was at
it was
their old
place.
location.
Then Slick Pig had what dollar pulled pork sandwiches,
something like that
for a while.
And they had a good deal. They always had a good deal on wings too.
But there was no Jonathan's. There was really nothing over there. In that whole medical center area. Bar Louie was like right after we graduated, I feel like. But anyway, I'm not telling you what to do. But Jeff, you got anything else for Nick?
Oh man, I appreciate you coming on,
Yeah,
and man, excited about the season, and really think, man, if we can just help you out and give you some resemblance of a run game, because what you've been able to do the last couple of years with not a lot of time and not a lot of help on the ground, I mean, it's just been phenomenal. So we're rooting for you, and obviously the Blue Raiders being our alma mater. But can't thank you enough for coming on, Nick. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks,
I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Good luck.
All right, thanks. See you guys.
Well, Jeff, are you bought in or what?
I mean, I've been bought in on Nick. I think he's done a really
star.
good job the last couple of years, and with really not a lot of help. I mean, anytime your offense is one-dimensional, kind of how it's been, but the ability to still throw for like 3,000 yards, over 20 touchdowns, keep the picks pretty low. I mean, get him some help. If we can get the Blue Raider defense to start holding some opposing offenses to under 30 points, I mean, those are the two things, in my opinion, which help the quarterback the most, right? Your defense getting stops, keeping the offense on the sideline, and then just having some sort of a run game to where defenses can't just sit back and pin their ears back and come after you. So I've been bought in, and it's gonna be an interesting year. I mean, that's a lot of roster turnover that Mason's had to do. So can they make it all mesh and come together with leaders like Nick? I think it's going to help.
Yeah, I mean, the good news for them is outside of Liberty, there's not anybody in the conference that's just, unbeatable.
Yeah.
I should say. And then that's not to say Liberty's unbeatable, but they're a lot better than everybody else.
We took them to the wire last year.
We did. Well, as I was asking that question about the schedule, I mean, dude, I remember watching every one of those games. At Missouri, I remember we were sitting there in Myrtle Beach watching that game. They had that game won. Should have won that outside of some tough calls. In Colorado State, they had a chance to finish them, couldn't do it. Jacksonville State, isn't that the game they went up real big early? I want to say.
Yeah, I feel like they were up in that game.
Like 21-0 or something, I feel like. Liberty, they were wire to wire with. New Mexico State, they lose by a score. And Sam Houston, they lose by a field goal. And I mean, those games go the other way, and we're probably talking about Stock being coach of the year in the conference. You know what I mean? But now you go to this year's schedule, and I just want to say this, because as Nick kind of gave his plea to the fans, and we'll do the same thing. Man, go support these guys and continue to support them, because the toughest part they play their four out of their 5 toughest games are in the first 5 weeks of the year. And then they play Liberty towards the end. But, I mean, you're at Ole Miss. Nobody's going to expect them to win that game. Western, they're going to be Middle's going to be big underdogs there. It's a rivalry game, and it's one that anything can happen. But it's been lopsided lately. Western's been winning most of them lately. Duke, Manny Diaz coming back to Floyd Stadium.
Well, it's funny that
Simmons coming back to Floyd.
It's funny
Floyd
that
Stadium,
game's homecoming, Sprouse.
Very you can have the whole staff homecoming. Never mind. Then you go to Memphis, which first of all, I'm glad that these guys get to experience that old rivalry, because that used to be a fun one back in the day. Now Memphis is a hell of a lot better than they were back when we were in school.
Yeah,
but,
and Memphis this year, I mean, they are returning pretty much everybody, and one of the favorites to win the American. So I just, like you said, like Blue Raider faithful, show up week 1 and keep the same energy when you get to week 6, week 7 down the stretch, because that, per usual though, every year the beginning stretch of the schedule is front loaded, and that's just it is what it is. The schedules are made so far in advance, but for a multitude of reasons, we got to play 2 usually pretty darn good Power 5 programs. And then we happen to open the conference with 1 or 2 of the best teams in conference.
Yeah.
So you got to support, you support these players, that in-game atmosphere. It's why I wanted to ask him the question, because we've been saying it ad nauseum since we've started this thing. Like, it matters. You're talking point swings in a game for a school like when App State, or Boise State or Fresno State is playing at home. Why? Because their crowd is loud, and it affects opposing offenses and defenses and special teams. It matters. Show up and be loud.
And there's a thing called momentum too, right? I mean, go turn on the NBA Finals or the Stanley Cup Finals this week, and watch how, I get it, basketball and it's different than football, but watch how the home team goes on a run and the place is electric, and the damn refs start playing into it. They start calling that way. Everything starts to go your way. When you get a little momentum, you get things rolling, and that's the same thing. You look at if you're on defense and it's 1st and 10 and you're loud and you get a no gain or a loss, you get a little bit louder on 2nd down. Now they got to throw the ball, incomplete pass. Now you got a 3rd and long, and now you're making them think. They don't have a lot of plays. They can't run everything they want to run. It's just, and it snowballs for you. Then you get good field position. Then you can go down and score, and that's how you put these games away. I mean, it's.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's one of the reasons why Middle has played better on the road the last couple of years, because you get that crowd. You get amped up a little bit more, unfortunately, for those games, because there's people in the stands. So, don't underestimate, you're like, oh, I'm just not going to go. Like, it matters, people. Go to the games, bring a friend, bring somebody. I promise you can have a great tailgate and a great time at the game.
Exactly. Well, and then last thing I'll say on the crowd thing, there's as great as it is to have a crowd and the on-field product, there's nothing worse than preparing all week for what in the locker room is known as, this is a huge game, big game, season on the line game, and then you come out the tunnel 15 minutes before kickoff and there's nobody there. It takes your emotion and flattens it, and unfortunately, it's tough to come back for. I mean, it's tough to get up for that. Yeah. It feels like, because if it doesn't feel like a game, it feels like practice, or it feels like scrimmage, or it feels like a spring game or something like that. And it's just, that's the whole point. I mean, you work in practice 300 something days a year for those couple of weekends, and if it's not any different, then it sucks.
Yeah, and I think what gets lost sometimes, especially in this day and age, like, the players are human beings, and like, they get deflated just like you have you wake up and something happens in the morning and it affects the rest of your day. It's the same thing when they come out of the tunnel after beating Miami on the road and you play the #1 conference team and the stadium's maybe a quarter of the way full. Like, you can say like, oh, well, they're supposed to be bigger and better than that. Dude, they're human. Like, they have feelings. They have all the same things that you feel, they feel too. Just because they got a uniform on and helmets, like, yeah, you want them to stay up and be up for that game, but it's difficult. Like, the crowd matters, the energy, the passion, it transfers onto the field. I promise it does. So, like, when people want to know, like, what can I do to help? Go to the game and be loud. Like, that's the best thing that you can do. Besides give money, I guess. That's. I hope the BRW play out there.
What do you think's more important, Jeff?
Show up.
Depends on the dollar amount.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, if you're giving $1 million and you're not coming, we'll give you a pass.
Yeah, but most people that are giving that money are coming.
They're going. Yeah.
They feel invested, and when the team wins, like, it means more to them because they have skin in the game.
They played a part in it. Exactly. And which you will play a huge part in it if you go. But anyway. That's all we got. Can't thank Nick enough, man. He's a good dude, man. And you're right. I mean, that guy, to play as well as he played last year, and if you got to watch any or most of those games, I mean, I don't think anybody had it as difficult as he had it, as far as pressure on him and the lack of run game, all that stuff. So Just hope they can get that fixed up for him this year, and he could have one hell of a season. And also, didn't know this until before the show. Dude's got another year after this too.
Yeah.
So, he's got a chance to. They got a chance to build something now. We should stay with these guys. But Nick, can't thank you enough, man. We're rooting for you. If you like the show, if you enjoyed this episode of Inside Drill, make sure you hit the follow button on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys, and then on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, give us a 5-star rating, leave a review, click the like button. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. That's all we got for you guys tonight. We'll catch you next week with a live show. Out of here.